Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, what I want to do is go ahead and let's learn how to use MQ. So MQ allows us to have a managed server of either ActiveMQ or RabbitMQ. I've never used ActiveMQ, but I've used RabbitMQ quite a bit in the past. And when we say in the past, I mean like 2011. So my knowledge might be a little bit dated, but I remember how awesome RabbitMQ was. We were using it to aggregate multiple social media platforms into one pane of glass, kind of what Hootsuite would do. So that startup never went anywhere. But anyway, what we're going to need to do is choose how we want to deploy this. I want this to be very cost effective, so we'll go with a single instance broker. I'm a bit curious about the cost before we spin this up, so you can decide whether you want to actually do this or just watch me do it. You'll notice here that our cheapest is a T3 micro, so we do have a cost-effective method here, and so I think that's what we'll go ahead and utilize here. So go ahead and hit next. We'll say my broker, and I'm going to choose the cheapest, which is a T3 micro, and we need to have a username and password. I'm going to go with admin, and then I'll just look here. So I have capital T testing 1 2 3 4 5 6 exclamation mark. Okay. So we'll just show the password so we know what it is. Capital T testing 1 2 3 4 5 6 exclamation mark. We'll look at some additional settings. We can choose our version. Well, I'm just going to stick with the latest one. I will let it create its configuration for RabbitMQ, as I don't remember how to configure it, so whatever it wants to do is going to be fine. We might want to publish the CloudWatch logs if there are issues, so we probably want that to be turned on. This is going to be a public access server because we want to access it. We're going to use the default VPC to make our lives really easy. We will let AWS, the key is owned by Amazon MQ and is not in your account, so we'll let AWS do that. That's very interesting wording. Normally, they don't call it owned by CMK, but that's fine. Enable automatic minor version upgrade sounds fine to me. We're going to stick with no preference for the Windows maintenance. Let's go ahead and hit next. So this all looks good to me. We'll go ahead and create this. Deployment time is about 20 minutes. So we're going to be waiting here a while, so let's just wait this out for this to create. Actually, while we're doing that, we could start working on our code. So this should be pretty straightforward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the repo over at AWS Examples, and I'm going to make a new folder in here. I'm going to launch this in Gitpod. Use whatever you're comfortable with, but I like to use Gitpod. In the future, you might see me using something else, but this is what I use today. And so I will end up creating a new folder in here called MQ. So we'll make a new folder in here called MQ. Whoops. New folder here, we'll say MQ. And I'm not sure if we'll be able to use multiple protocols, but it'd be interesting to see if we could. So I'm going to go ahead here and we're going to have one for AMQP. Or is it AMPQ? I always forget. We'll make another folder here called MQTT. We will make another folder in here, and this one will be called Stomp. So we have these three that we can implement. I'm going to use Ruby here today just to make my life really easy. So we will have a publisher and a subscriber. Or I'll just call it consumer so we can have kind of a generic name here, consumer. And we will do this for this one. We'll say publisher. And we will have a consumer. And that 20 minutes is going to give us a lot of time to get this set up here. Publisher and a consumer. Okay, so I'm going to cd into this MQ directory. I'm going to go into Stomp first. I'm going to go bundle init. And I'll cd back, and then we'll go into MQTT, and we'll say bundle init. And then we'll cd back, and then we'll go into AMQP. We'll do bundle init. All right, and so we do have code. So I did take time to get that code there in my PowerPoint slide. So I'm thinking that that stuff should just work. So just give me a moment to open up so we can reference it. All right, there we go. And by the way, you know, if you don't want to write out all this code, it's totally fine. You could just copy from the repo. I'm going to write this out by hand. I don't do this for all videos, but I feel like it's good to do that sometimes so that we get a better understanding of the code because people just need more exposure to coding. So you really, again, if you want to work in this industry, you need to have some level of coding skills. So get some practice here. So we're going to go ahead and use this gem. We can actually look it up if we want to. This is Bunny Ruby. And they probably have examples that we can easily copy down below. Yeah, so they have an example here. We might reference that if we run into issues here, but I'm going to just use the code that I have here because I believe that it does work. So we're going to first establish a connection. We're going to start that connection. We're going to have a channel. We'll need to create ourselves a channel. We'll need a queue here. You can see this is not going to take too long to type out. And we'll create that queue. We'll call this one hello. We'll need an exchange. So we'll go ahead and do that. Default exchange. And then we want to publish to our exchange. So we'll say publish hello world. And then we need our routing key. This will be the queue.name. And we'll just say puts message. I mean, there's nothing to really to puts because it's just going to send it. We could probably do better error handling on this. They might have an example of this here. No, not really. This looks like they're doing this all in one file, which is kind of interesting, but that's not how I'm going to do it here today. We will now go ahead and implement our subscriber. Okay. You guys spelled bunny right or it's not going to work. Connection start. And I think it's going to be very similar to our other one. So I'm just going to pull this one up as an example. So this is going to be the same. This will be the same. And here I'm going to do a begin. We could probably do like a begin around the other one. Why we don't, I don't know. So just say channel.close, connection.close, exit 0. And we could do that around here. I don't know why I never did that in the other code. Maybe just because I was lazy. Rescue. Exception. Usually we'll just do E here. And we just put E inspect so we can see exactly what's going on in here. And we just copy this over to our other code here. Allow. Come on, that's not what I wanted. Copy, paste, thank you. And I mean, like, we would want to close this either way, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this on the end here as such. Well, actually, no, we probably wouldn't want to unless we interrupted this. So we'll leave that alone. So I'll go ahead and just put this here as well. There we go. That code looks a lot better to me. We'll go back over to here. And so I'm going to do queue.subscribe. Subscribe. We'll say block true. I'm going to assume that allows us to use this block mode. So we have delivery info. Properties. And there's no reason for us to put the underscores here. We don't have to do that, but that's what I'm going to do here, okay? And here I just want to put the body. There we go. So that's pretty straightforward for our MAQ example. I'm going to do a bundle install here. Whoops. When this happens, I just need to refresh my browser. It's kind of a bug with Gitpod that will never get fixed because they just don't seem to care. Okay, so we have our AMQP code. Let's go ahead and do our MQTT, which is going to be very similar, but a little bit different. So this one's going to be require MQTT, and we'll put our host. It's not going to be localhost. We will swap that out here in a moment, but we'll have a topic. So we'll just say test topic, and then our message, hello world, MQTT. And here we'll have our begin, rescue, and our end. Puts, if it failed, we'll say failed. Well, we'll just inspect it. We'll get more information that way. And now we'll have our clients. We'll say client.connect to the host, do client. And MQTT is really good. I've used MQTT when there was a startup, I think it was called Beam, And their gimmick was that they wanted you to be able to see every single message that was typed in text messaging. So they were very popular at one point in time. And they utilized MQTT to do that. And that was pretty cool, I think. So that looks correct to me. Let's go ahead and implement the, well, this is the consumer. So this actually should have been in here. Didn't copy correctly. We'll copy this again. We'll go back to our publisher because this is our publisher code. This is a publishing. And then we will do our consumer. Code's going to be very similar, except here we'll do get topic, do topic, and then we have our message. We'll puts the topic. We'll puts the message. There we go. So that is that implementation there. We'll go to our gem file here. We will add gem MQTT. I just remember we have to have aux in here, or no Kukiri, whichever XML parser. Ruby always needs one by default. And I'll add pry here as well, just because that's going to make our lives a lot easier if we have pry, because then we can inspect our code. If we have any issues here, we'll put in stomp here. It's not the one that's recommended by Stomp, surprisingly, but it's the one that's easy to use. So we'll use what's easier here. And we will say pry. So we'll go ahead and implement our Stomp code first with the publisher. So we'll say require Stomp. And again, all this might not work, but we will do our best here to get something working here. So we are just doing some configuration. I believe we need to do curlies here. So this will be the hosts. And we'll have to have the login. So login, passcode, host is host, port 61. I actually don't know what the port's going to be, so we'll just leave it alone right now. SSL will say false. I don't know if it has SSL by default, but we'll just do this. Login, passcode, host, port. Okay, and so if we end up utilizing Stomp, that's what will go on here. I'm just going to set up a topic, queue test. We'll have client publish, dest, hello world, Stomp, client, close. So very straightforward here. We'll go over to our consumer. And the code is kind of similar. We can also just extract this out here as a config. This will make this a little bit easier to work with, because that's getting a little bit long and hard to see. There we go. That's a lot nicer. And so we can just copy this, paste this in here. Say client subscribe, dest, do, we'll have message, and then we'll say client acknowledge. Message. I'm not really sure what the best way here is to wait, but I'm just going to put a sleep here. Okay, and so the idea is that it will wait, and then hopefully it will print things out here, okay? But usually sleep is not what I would use, but I think they recommended that in their documentation, but we will, or maybe for a simple example, but we'll have to see what we need there. But we'll go over to our gem file here, and that all looks configured. So now with all this stuff staged, I'm just going to go ahead and save this here. So our MQ example code. Okay, we'll go back over to here, and it looks like it's now running. Great. So I would imagine we establish a connection by getting an endpoint. Oh, cool, we have a web console. That's sweet. And we'll say administrator, capital T, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exclamation mark, log in. And it's asking us twice, administrator, capital T, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exclamation mark, log in. I think what I actually did was I called it admin, and that's why I'm having issues here. Let's try this again. Login. Admin, capital T, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exclamation mark, sign in. And it is not working. Does it show me what I called my login name? Could I reset the password if I run into an issue? Broker takes 20 minutes. Your broker configuration can be found in 20 in the configuration page. I'm pretty sure I called it admin or administrator. It's one or the other. I'm pretty sure it was admin. So we'll try this password again. I'm going to give this a hard refresh here. Admin, capital T, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exclamation mark, log in. There we go. Okay, great. So we are in our RabbitMQ server here. We can see that we have a node running. We have the ports. So we can see we have AMQP, SSL. I'm not exactly sure how we use the other ones, but we'll just go on and click around here for a moment. Channels. So if we create channels, we'll see them here. If we have exchanges, oh, we do have exchanges. So we have AMQP. And did I spell that right back here? AM. No, I didn't. It's always hard to get that. It's probably Q, like Q and then protocol at the end there. And coming back to here, again, just looking to see what options we have. Feature flags. I'm just looking if there's like options to turn on the other modes because this is supposed to support other stuff. So like Stomp, RabbitMQ, ActiveMQ, or sorry, AmazonMQ. We can connect with it, right? It's not possible to configure right now to have it installed with the Stomp plugin. When you provision MQ Broker with AmazonMQ, it will deploy you that. Okay, so can we at least use Stomp? Or sorry, not that, but can we use MQTT? So it says Amazon MQ Rabbit supports plugin management. So we could add plugins here. Okay. And I think that's kind of where we are here. We have plugins down below. How do we enable a plugin? So I'd be really curious if we could enable other modes. It's not a big deal. If we're only going to do AMQP, that's totally fine. But just understand that RabbitMQ can work with multiple ones here. So this all looks fine. Let's go see how we can establish our connection. So I'm going to go back over to my code. And we'll go into AMQP here. And there has to be more configuration than this. So I'm going to go ahead and type in bunny Ruby. We can see we have videos about bunnies down below. Just give me a moment, okay? All right, so here's where we have configuration information. So I'm imagining that we can just grab this one and that will be sufficient. So we'll go here and just call this config. And we'll have to expand that. So the way we do that in Ruby is, should be this to expand it. Sometimes it's double, depends on the use case, but we're going to just do that, connection. Okay, virtual host, user, password. I guess it's the same as we used before, maybe. Admin, capital T, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exclamation mark. Do we need the host and the virtual host? So the virtual host, the host, the port. What port is this running on? It says 5671, and it does use SSL. Okay. I'm just going to go here and be explicit about the port. It probably is that. That's probably the default port. If you're wondering, I'm just changing the arrows. It's just the alternate syntax for arrows. I just think it looks cleaner. That's why I'm doing that. Sorry. It's a habit, okay? So the question is like, do we configure just the host or do we even need the vhost? Virtual host default is /. So what I'm going to do, and just change this back to default because that makes more sense to me. we're going to go over to RabbitMQ here. And I need its actual endpoint. Oh, is it just an IP address? Okay, here it is, right here, yeah. That's using the MQP endpoint string. I wonder if it could actually utilize that somewhere. Oh, it can right here, look at that. So maybe that's what I would prefer to use as the connection string URL, because that looks a lot nicer. So what we'll do here is just take this. Okay, I'm going to paste that in as such. And we'll grab this here. Obviously, if you were doing this for real, you would not just place your passwords in here willy-nilly. But I'm going to do this because this is just going to save us a lot of time. And we'll need an @ sign here. I'm just going to say admin, capital T testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can see that we have this here on the end. Okay, I'm not exactly sure what that's indicating. vhost is production. Okay, so if there was a virtual host, and so I don't think we have anything different, so it's just going to be the /. That's fine, that makes sense. So what we'll do is just call this connection string. And we will see if this works. So I'm going to type in bundle install. And by now you should know how to do a bit of Ruby because I keep using it so much. It's real easy to use though. It's just dead simple. So just wait for that to finish installing. There we go. If you're wondering, RabbitMQ is actually built in Erlang. At one point I thought I wanted to be an Erlang programmer and I learned way too much about Erlang. There's a framework called Elixir that is based off the top of Erlang, which is really nice. Bundle exec Ruby, and we'll say publisher. Is that what we're in? No, we're in the consumer right now. So that's not exactly what I want. I'm going to go over here, and we'll copy this connection string URL. Okay. And we'll just paste it in here. That is, again, not what I wanted. We'll try this again. Copy. Paste. And I'm just going to, again, just tweak this here. And we'll try this. So we'll say publisher, and we'll see if we can establish a connection. We have a spelling mistake here. That's why this is not working correctly. We'll type in clear. We'll hit up again. And we'll go up. So it says here, using TLS, but no CLI certificate is provided. If RabbitMQ is configured to require verify Q, it's going to reject it. Still having issue with some spelling. On line 8. Okay, let's go look at RabbitMQ and see if we can see anything. Oh, we are getting something happening here. Excellent. We'll go over to our connections, our channels, our exchanges, our queues. So we can see that we have a queue here called hello. And we have messages ready to deliver. That's very cool. Let's go ahead and run our consumer. We'll also just correct the minor spelling mistakes over here. Okay. So we'll go ahead and type in bundle exec Ruby main. Bundle exec Ruby main. Not main, it's consumer. See if that works. The connection is not open. Oh, we didn't start the connection. Okay. Okay, not a big deal. Hello world. So there we go. So we were able to send and receive. So that looks pretty simple, but yeah, the power with RabbitMQ is its ability to be configured in a multitudes of ways. I haven't done anything with RabbitMQ for a while, so I can't say I remember the configuration options, but that's the most basic stuff that we can do here. It would be really nice if we could do something else like use MQTT. So let me just see if I can get a plugin in here and figure that out. I'm going to pause here to figure it out, okay? Also, by the way, the docs suggests that Stomp and MQTT can be used, but clearly not. Or maybe they're talking about ActiveMQ because it's not specifically saying RabbitMQ can do it, but I'll figure this out here in a second, okay? All right, so carefully looking at this, it's suggesting that we only have AMQP 091, which I don't know what this part is, but that's part of the versioning of it. But it looks like only RabbitMQ can utilize that protocols, and it's suggesting that ActiveMQ can do all these other ones. So I guess I will have to make some tweaks here. So maybe we'll have to launch up an ActiveMQ server, and so we can use these other ones here, okay? So just give me a moment here, and we were going to go ahead and spin down this one here. I really didn't want to use ActiveMQ, but I guess this is our opportunity to learn how to use it. And so that one is going to be tear down. We'll go ahead and now create an Apache ActiveMQ. And I want a single broker. Backed by EFS. I don't really care. Backed by Elastic Block Storage. I'm going to do EBS because that's going to be more cost effective. A set of 3 single instance brokers connected to the mesh. No, I don't really want that. I want something really straightforward. Call this my ActiveMQ broker. We'll go ahead here and see what we can utilize. So we can't utilize anything smaller than an M5 large. If you don't want to do this, just watch me do it and watch me fail. But yeah, we'll go ahead here and just type in admin and do capital T testing 1 2 3 4 5 6 exclamation mark. We'll check, make sure we type that correctly. We'll drop this down, and I want this to have public access. Probably want CloudWatch logs. Yeah, we'll let it set up the security group here. It'll be CMK owned. We'll go ahead and hit next, and we will create the broker. So we will let that create, and we'll be back here in a bit, and hopefully we can test out some of those other protocols. All right, so after waiting a little while, we now have our MQ broker started up. I do believe that ActiveMQ, just like RabbitMQ, can have a web interface. Here it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this one. And okay. Let's manage our ActiveMQ broker. We'll say admin, capital T, testing, 1 2 3 4 5 6 exclamation mark. We'll sign in. And here we are. We're inside of it, similar to RabbitMQ, so not super uncomfortable utilizing this so far. Now we do have that ActiveMQ example, so that might be something that we'll want to do. So what I'm going to do here is just change URL. We can see, oh, it has all the protocols here, so we have an idea of what we can utilize for a connection. Go ahead and copy this here, and I'm going to just say connection string here. I mean, this one's specifically for RabbitMQ, but if it's using this protocol, you'd think it would work for either or. So I'm just going to try and utilize it, and I don't know if it will work, but if it doesn't, we'll find out shortly. The only thing that we need to change here is to add this information here. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that in as such. Did not copy and paste as I wanted to. So I'm going to try this again one more time. Copy. And we will paste that in there. Okay. And so we will go ahead and attempt to see if we can make a connection with this. Connection URI must use AMQP or schema format. And I'm not sure what it doesn't like. I know it has that SSL plus in there, so it might not like that. The other part is that it's supposed to, no, maybe it's just this that it doesn't like. So just take that out there. Let's see what happens if we do this. And here it says, must be of one of the following headers, decode headers. So it didn't exactly work how I was hoping it would. So we'll just look at ActiveMQ Ruby client, because maybe there is some variation here. Okay, not the best example. You know, I'm not really worried about testing out ActiveMQ with AMQP, so there's probably some more stuff that we'll have to do that. We'll just ignore this for now. We'll move on to MQTT, because that's really what I want to do, is just make sure we get some experience with some of these other protocols. So here we have for MQTT. We'll go back over to here. We'll go to our publisher first. I'm going to paste in this here. I would imagine that it also needs the username and password. I don't know if it'll work the same way, but I'm just going to go ahead and try it by putting the password in here as such, because most of them will work that way. I'm going to go ahead and type in clear, and I'm going to go back and go into MQTT. We'll do a bundle install, since I'm not sure if we've done that yet or have done it recently, if we've added some new gems. Let's go ahead and see if we can run that. It has an issue here. We're missing an equals, so we'll go ahead and add that in there. Name or service not known. So it might not like the way we're specifying the protocol. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual gem here. Assuming this is the same one. Yes, it is. This one's not showing the protocol on it, so maybe we don't need to specify the protocol here. But what about the username and password and everything else? Okay, so it can take it with the protocol. Here it's showing MQTTS. I'm going to assume S is the short form for SSL here. So I'm just going to take that off here, and we'll do this instead. But it seems like it should take this. There we go. So we have no errors, and that's usually a good indicator that it worked. Let's go take a look here and see if there's any queues or topics or anything. Queues make more sense for queues and exchange make more sense for AMQP. So we see test topic. We have a message in there. So clearly it is working. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and run our subscriber. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this line here. And we will paste it in as such. Excellent. And then we will go ahead and run this. We'll go ahead and say consumer here. And I'm not seeing anything. It might need to work real time. So I'm going to go back over to here. And I'm going like just in another tab. And we're going to just try to publish it and see if it's only going to see ones that are coming in. So let's say bundle exec Ruby publisher. Oh, we got to CD into MQTT. Bundle exec Ruby publisher. And we'll go back over to here. So now we can see it. Okay. So I think it's every time it is subscribed, because it wasn't subscribed before, it's not going to see it. So that is for our MQTT solution. That is really good. We'll go over to Stomp. It'd be nice if Stomp can just take a connection URL string. I'm going to assume that it can. So we will just keep following through here and do that. So I'm just going to ignore all that stuff above. And we'll paste this in. And I imagine that, yeah, this says an SSL on it. So we'll just give it an extra S on the end. That's probably how it works. And we'll try this. It's not always the case. It really depends on how it's implemented for your broker, but or your client. But I'm going to just take a guess and assume this works. Connection string. Okay, we'll just comment this out because we are not using any of this. And I'm going to go ahead. This is the consumer. I want to be in the publisher here. So we will go here and copy this line and paste in this line. And we'll just grab our connection string. And I'm just hoping that it takes the connection string, because that'll make our life a lot easier. This queue is called queue test. This one here is not specifying the destination, so I can just copy this here because it looks like we missed that from earlier. I'm going to just CD Control T out of that. We're going to go over to MQTT. Sorry, Stomp. bundle install, bundle exec, Ruby main, or sorry, publisher, and that did not work. Connection refused on this port. 61, well, this one's saying 61613. We've specified 61614. Okay, well, we'll take a look at the Stomp client then. Ruby Stomp. And it probably does take a connection string, I would imagine. It can. And this one actually is using the plus SSL, which is interesting. So I'm going to switch this over back to plus SSL because it might matter. And it might be defaulting to whatever the non-SSL port is. This is our consumer. I got to remember to do this on both here. We'll try this again. Publisher. And we'll go up. Connection refused for localhost. It's like it's not picking up the connection string configuration. I'm just going to shorten this so there's no chance that I'm making a mistake here. Okay, we'll type in clear. We'll go up here. Connection refused on localhost. I don't want to connect to localhost. It is not listening to me whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is going to go ahead and just swap out some of these values here and see if we get somewhere better here by doing this. So our login is admin. Our password is testing 123456 exclamation mark. Our host is going to be this. So we'll go ahead and copy this here. Our port is, this probably wants a number because that's usually what ports are. We have 61614, 61614, and we are using SSL, so just say that, set that to true. And we'll swap that out for config. You know, you got to make sure these things work, no matter if the docs say that it works a certain way, sometimes it doesn't. No, so we did establish a connection. Well, at least we didn't have a problem here. The way we're going to know is if we go take a look here and refresh, we can see that we have a queue in here somewhere. I mean, something changed. So that is good. I'm going to go back over to here, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy this over here and paste it in. So at least that wasn't a waste the first time around here. We'll just say config. And I'm just going to have two of these open because that's how we did it last time, and that seemed like it worked a little bit better that way. So I'm going to do bundle, exec, Ruby, consumer, and unexpected ACK received on line 25. Doesn't like the sleep. Okay. Well, then how do we write our consumer then? Does this have any examples? Let's go take a look here. I mean, it works so fast that we might have not noticed. Unexpected ACK received for message ID. Okay, I'm just going to take out the line 25 here. We'll try this again. Okay, if we run this one, and then this one. Oh, well, we're running the, okay, consumer. Well, here's the thing is we're not printing out the message, so it could have worked this entire time. We just don't even know. Message, hold on here. Let's try this again. So we publish, and we consume. All right, let me just figure out how we can wait on this. All right, so I made one little change. I looked up a reference here to this example, and they're showing that they did a join. And so now it looks like we are getting the messages. So there we go. We just had to add a join there. So our code is now tweaked. So just say updated examples for MQ. Okay, so there you go. Pretty good. The only thing we didn't do was get AMQP to work with ActiveMQ. I'm sure we could fiddle around with it and get it to work. I don't care. I just wanted to make sure that you had some experience working with all those three there. We didn't really look at anything like advanced configurations here. Not really important in this video, but I'm going to go ahead and delete our broker here. Okay, we don't want this one sticking around because this one's more expensive. Can't find user min, that's totally fine. And just want to make sure that is deleting. Yes, we're good. So I will see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.